GCPD, The Blue Wall, issue 2, John Ridley writing with Stefano Raphael on the art. So this is the story following 3 rookie cops in Gotham who just graduated the academy, and a bit of Renee Montoya as well as the commissioner. First issue focused mainly on Park, who was heralded a hero for not shooting someone who didn't deserve it, but then it turned out by the end it was revealed to everyone that she just kind of choked because she's presented with a situation where she probably should take the shot and still doesn't, and a civilian gets hurt because of it. Although this issue focuses a bit more on Wells, who's the parole officer of the 3, and some of his happenings. Although we get a little bit of all of them, but she was definitely the focus of issue 1. Wells is definitely more the focus of issue 2.
I would expect we rotate through to the next one after.
Yeah, I would expect. Yeah, the third guy, whose name is Danny.
Something you'll learn in issue 3.
It's Danny.
Yeah, okay.
I had a page up to help, to be fair, but it's hard to remember normal people names in comic books.
It is. You get there eventually.
Yeah. All right. So since you read this, I assume you also liked issue 1.
I did. I didn't really know what to expect, and I've got a history of not loving Ridley's books. Not hating them, but not loving them for the most part. So I was a bit, cautious going in, but I thought, I'll try it. I was not expecting it to be a spiritual successor to Gotham Central, which is, for all intents and purposes, what it is. I mean, like I say, even referenced it directly continuity-wise.
It references it, yeah, with Montoya. I would say
more just the feeling of it following the cops and their, day-to-day stuff. This is a slightly different angle on following, their first month on the job. But
yeah, I'd say it feels distinct enough because it's following 3 brand new cops, and it's them having their noble intentions kind of stamped out of them with the system and
it is, but
the harsh realities.
It very much feels like this could have been a 6-issue mini sequel to Gotham Central, focusing on some new cops in the department. Like if this had been branded Gotham Central, then something to do with Gotham Central, the rookies, for example. I don't think you'd have thought twice about it.
No, probably not. But at the same time, I understand why it is something different now, yeah. And I think it does have that core focus, that kind of Serpico style. We have these new cops who want to do the best that they can do, but they all immediately get hit with these brick walls of like, here's the harsh reality of dealing with certain people. Because in this case, you've got both the like how difficult it is dealing with certain people that this parole officer Wells is dealing with, because the guy who ended up committing the crime at the end of the first issue was one of his parolees. And that's the one who Park didn't shoot at the end of the issue. So he feels this guilt because he tried to say he believed in him and gave him all these pep talks, and he still ended up doing this, which, clouds him enough that even though he doesn't want to be someone who just like intimidates and like yells at the next guy, he ends up kind of doing it at an inopportune moment because he's been told again by his superior that no, the only thing these people understand is fear. So you've got to yell at them. You've got to less carrot, more stick,
and play it by the book. Because the guy's talking about how he's heard these things, and he's like, you can't be in contact with any of them. I'll pretend I didn't hear it this one time, but you tell me that again, and I'm gonna take you in. Essentially, he's playing it really strict.
Yeah, and the sad part of it is that the scene in question, this parolee that he's talking to, was actually coming to him thinking he could speak to him like a human being because he had been so nice before, and then this like conversation and being like barked at by him for potentially making this mistake is what leads him to doing what he does, which is effectively suicide by because now some people say suicide by cops by like showing up with a gun and because they know they'll get shot for it. This was kind of like that, but with a guy instead.
Yeah, he actively tips off his old gang, like the cops about his old gang putting this robbery.
But he knows that they'll know it was him, so they'll come and kill him. And he sort of does
he doesn't
that.
show up, obviously, so he's not there to get caught. So obviously they're going to assume it was him.
Yeah, and he's taking out a life insurance to set up his girlfriend for life, because it's the only way he feels he can make money.
Very heavily pregnant girlfriend.
Yes. So, it's hitting at a lot of things here. It's hitting at the system, the idea. It's brought up multiple times in this issue that people who are on parole have trouble getting jobs because people typically don't want to hire ex-cons because they don't see them as trustworthy, which is understandable to a point. You understand why people might naturally feel that way, but it's obviously a problem because, well, they have to do something, and if they don't get a job, then they may eventually feel the need to turn back to crime because the straight and narrow is not working for them. And that was something I noticed as well, is when Wells was over at his house the first time when he's been nicer to him, he keeps saying, I believe in you, you just have to work hard at it. He never actually offers any specific bits of advice. He just sort of generally says, oh, it'll work out eventually, you just have to keep at it. I think at this point, this guy needs like a concrete idea. Like, give him something that he can go do right now to make him feel active.
But this is, I think, interesting, where this is him showing how green he is at the job, where it's not a case of him just rolling out the platitudes. He doesn't have any contacts yet. He doesn't have any specific advice that he can give because he's not he's not been through any of this yet. He's not figured out, okay, where, like, I'm assuming, later in the career, they know, all right, which companies will have policies that hire ex-cons, because, a lot of them do. But he probably doesn't have a list yet of, okay, which ones does he know treats them well?
Yeah. It was something that stuck out to me because it was obviously very well intentioned, but I'm like, you're not really giving this guy any really concrete options here, other than just, keep at it.
Yeah, just stick with it, keep going.
Yeah. So, I thought that was an interesting. So it was kind of analyzing like even his mistakes before he's given the bad advice from the other cop, which leads to this nasty outcome by the end. And obviously at the same time you have Park, who's feeling diminished and feeling like, she's been kind of chewed up, and like, this is the thing, they question, because they have this sort of running thing that I'm sure is going to be something we do in every issue, which is the three of them getting together at the diner and like complaining about the problems. That's clearly going to be a running thing, and I really like it as a storytelling device. But one of the others basically say, yeah, but what if Montoya's just part of the machine, and like, you respect her and all that, but she's kind of throwing you under the bus here and not sticking up for you. But we actually see in Montoya's scenes that she does kind of say, hey, this is also on us for like glorifying her and putting her in front of the press, and we never asked her because we didn't want to know why she didn't take that shot. So it kind of does this thing where it's analyzing the problems with the system, the mistakes that you can make when you're new to it, but then why things get worse because the people who are jaded, who are in the system, just tell you to do it this way because that's the way that's always worked for them because they don't care anymore. And it's a really interesting look at what's wrong with the system.
I think it's interesting, you said there, this is what works for them. I think that's not what Montoya did, though, because she didn't ask the question, but it's because she's like, she talks about how, okay, she should have asked that question. She kind of just didn't think about it because it was great. Here's an example of what we're doing differently. It's not a case of being entrenched in the system of what's working for them. It's a case of, oh, this is good. This is different. We can use this. It's attempting to do something differently, but not actually looking into how it works, and not actually thinking through the details. It's more just having an idea and running with it. And when she's at the top, that's just as dangerous as just sticking to the same thing as always.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting looking at all this. Obviously, it's setting up that Two-Face is behind the gang thing that was happening, and that obviously like
very personal for Montoya.
Yeah, Montoya. That's why it references in the editor's note. What happened with Two-Face. And she's still freaking out. I actually really like the scene with her and her brother, and her brother's wife, I assume, is the other character in the scene.
Giving her the goldfish?
Yeah, saying that it's therapeutic and all that. You can get a lot of affection from a goldfish, which I don't believe. I'm with Montoya on this. Yeah. That goldfish barely knows you exist. I'm just I'm just going to say it. So I think those personal touches, I think that's really neat because obviously having Montoya be the person in charge, I think naturally, in a story where it'd be very easy to villainize anyone who's not our three rookie cops because they're the ones who want to do good and change things, it'd be very easy to villainize anyone up the chain. But by having Montoya be the one at the top of the chain, which is obviously nicely in continuity because she is the commissioner right now, is that we already naturally like her. We naturally care about Montoya because she's an established character. And obviously it reaffirms that by showing her that she does have doubts, that she is struggling with being a recovering alcoholic and dealing with her past with Two-Face and struggling with these decisions she's making and why she made a mistake and not asking the question that she should have asked when Park didn't take the shot, and so on and so on. But it naturally means that, okay, we have someone at the top that we can also sympathize with, and we can sort of see from both ends of the spectrum why this system's not working and where these mistakes are happening and why things are falling through. So it's very interesting. Obviously, in the third rookie cop, he's dealing with racism, particularly ignorant racism, because they keep talking, they're cracking jokes about his family being illegal immigrants, and he's like, I'm Puerto Rican, which is part of the US. Like they're not like like they were already citizens.
Either don't know or don't care.
Yeah,
or both.
So you've got that kind of at play, and he's got a scene with his parents where they're like, yeah, we kind of try to shelter you as best we could so you didn't have to suffer the racism, but maybe we sheltered you too much because you're not really taking to heart like the fact
you're just kind of defending them a little bit, like not defending them saying that oh, this is fine, this is all good, but more just this is what they do, this is how they are, like just accepting that it's institutionalized and thinking that it's okay.
Yeah, basically just sugarcoating the status quo and like reaffirming it by not standing against it, kind of thing. And obviously you understand why that's hard, because if he stands up against it, then he's the asshole to them for causing a ruckus and not playing by their rules. Yeah. And he'll be villainized for that amongst everyone else. Which, in a way, makes you think back to like even Batman Year One, and like Gordon being the one cop who wanted to do things properly, and
doesn't last long.
No.
Even for Gordon.
So, but that's in this case though, we have like a whole generation potentially of new cops that maybe want to do better and change the system, and maybe that's Montoya, who has paved the way by being this better cop her entire career in a time when it was rougher and harder to do so. Maybe she'll realize she has some young people under her, command that can help her forge whatever this new path, which might be the ultimate end goal of the book, is kind of like that realization. But yeah, so I do like what this is hitting though, with all these characters and like the different aspects of law enforcement they're kind of hitting on, and like where these different parts of the system, like Park's dealing with the idea of shooting suspects, and the idea that the other cops are like, no, just shoot and don't worry about it. We'll deal later if it was the right choice or not.
Yeah.
Shoot first, ask questions later, kind of thing. And then the parole officer is a very specific, different way of looking at the after someone's been through the system. So.
Yeah, but even like in the earlier part of his story in this issue, the kind of the one like training him, kind of like assessing how he's doing. Yeah. They come out of that first meeting with the couple, and he's like, nah, you're being too nice. You got to do it this way. This is the only way that works. And again, it's showing how the system is in place already, and where those problems are.
Yeah, and he's quite happy to say "told you so" and things like that, because the other guy ended up shooting someone. There's just a lot of that stuff. And I want to point out as well the scene where they sort of the other parolee who sort of ratted in on his and I hate using that word because I don't see it as ratting, like, but he turned the gang in, and he waits for this up in the park bench for like the guy to come and get him. Like, I think that's a really well handled page. Like the way it sort of just the gun's behind his head, and then you get the blam, and then the wide shot at the bottom panel. I think it's just paced really well. It's all good stuff. So no, it's really well told. It's really good drama, and much like a lot of these like less superhero style books, the art has to be good with faces, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare dealing with who's who. Part of that, of course, they were smart to make all three of these new characters different, and obviously not only the different sexes but the different races and things like that, to make them very distinct from each other. So that's very good for a quick recognition, but also just a lot of this is like it's a talky drama. Effectively, there's a little bit of action here or there, but it's mainly a talky drama. So it has to.
There's not much action.
Yeah, so it has to do that well, and it does. I do think the art here from Raphael is very good, and it was very good in the first issue as well.
It is. I don't think it's like my favorite art, but it doesn't do anything bad. It's very good. It just doesn't pop in the same way that some other artists do, at least for me.
No, that's fair. Like, I'm not holding it up to, like, I would say the art in Gotham Central is better, but that's not.
Yeah, like don't know. It's good art. It really is. It's doing its job. I just think this is probably not going to be in the conversation for my top art of the week.
Hmm. Well, okay. Well, this has been a great mini so far. 2 issues in. I'm actively excited for it. It's definitely my favorite thing that Ridley, and I've liked a couple of things Ridley's done, but this is my favorite thing Ridley's written so far.
Yeah, I think it is a mine as well.
Yeah, really good stuff. All right, what are you giving GCPD The Blue Wall issue 2?
Ooh, I will give this the 8.5. I'll break that out at last.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to give that to this as well. So yeah, 8.5 for me. Really good stuff.